Hi everyone, it's Nicole and welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing layout number 2 in my project tray series that I have going on my channel. I will link that playlist down below for you. Today I am working in this tray and today's project is going to feature a little bit of very light mixed media, but it's going to focus all on repeating patterns. I absolutely love this paper with all of the octagons on it, and I decided to take a stab at it and do some fussy cutting. I do have 3 photos that I am going to be scrapping on this layout, and I am going to eventually carry the theme of the shape through pretty much the whole thing with the exception of the title and some of the embellishments. So what I'm doing is just going to go through now on this sheet, pick out my absolute favorites. There are ones that I definitely wanted to include in this spread whenever I documented my 3 photos, and then there were some that just didn't really seem to fit the story that I wanted to tell, or it just didn't seem appropriate enough, I guess, so to speak, for a dog, and more for people related. So I do fussy cut a load of these out. I do fuss with them quite a bit to try to get the perfect layout. I was trying to get kind of like a top left, like to swoop down to the bottom right and then bring in some from the top right. It didn't quite pan out that way in the very end, but it all worked out. It seems like that they connected together in their own way. And that's what I was really going for, was making sure that the flow was there and that the connection was there. And in the end, even though it was a lot of fussing, it worked. So I do have a general layout of it right now, and I am using this octagon stencil from Bramble Fox as a template to cut my photo. What I do is line it up on my first one, and I make some marks with a Papermate marker, just so that it gives me a guide as to where to cut. And then once I have one done, I just freehand cut the other 2. And then they're all the same size. So for these photos, once I get them put down, it just didn't seem like it was enough. So I will actually take the paper that has the octagons on it and flip it over and use the B side of that paper to back my photos. I didn't think that they stood out enough whenever I was doing this piece. But I changed the layout again. And then I went back through and I picked out a couple more, and I love that little face with the hard eyes on there, and I had to include it before I started to dissect the rest of this paper. So I made sure that I cut that out. But I didn't measure anything. I just kind of chopped a chunk of the paper off and used my photo as a guide. And once I had it cut down and that I thought that I liked it, I just used that as a template to cut the other 2, and it worked. I don't really measure a whole lot most of the time. I just wing it and eyeball things by the seat of my pants, and most of the time it works. Like this one, it did. Sometimes it doesn't, though. But for the sake of this one, it does. So for the photos, I love how the layer looks, but I am going to pop my photo up on some foam. I think that it gives that extra little bit of dimension, and it helps that photo pop up off of that background piece a little bit more. So I'm going to take the time, do all 3 of my photos, add the foam on the back, and then go ahead and stick those down. And then I'm going to fuss again with the placement of everything. I really went through this a whole lot, and I cut out a lot of it just for the sake of it was a lot of back and forth. But once I started to get an idea of where I wanted things, I pulled in this older stencil. I think it was a Heidi Swapp one, maybe. I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry. But it has hearts, stars, and circles, and I wanted to pull in the stars into this because I have some star embellishments that I pulled out to work with this kit. So I'm going to use the stars on this in 3 of my distressed oxide inks. I have abandoned coral, peacock feathers, and picked raspberry that I use. So I will take these stars and just do some simple ink blending around them just so that I get some color and stars that peek out around the corners of the octagons that I fussy cut. And I try to alternate the colors a little bit. I try to make sure that I have blue in all three of my clusters, banded coral and the pink. And the banded coral and the pink is so close that you really can't tell the difference a whole lot. And it's probably my fault because I didn't pay super close attention cleaning off my stencil in between each time I changed my ink color. Again, I'm a lazy scrapper, so if I take a paper towel to it just to get the bulk of it off, that's all that I did. I didn't wet it and clean it off in between every single color, and I'm okay with that. But if you want that true abandoned coral color in the true picked raspberry, make sure that you wash your stencil off in between. That way those colors don't mend together and start to form its own color whenever it's mixed in with that teal, because it will start to change colors. So I'm going to go ahead and keep moving around. I put some of the ink down with the stars, then I'll put the hexagons over top of it, see what it looks like, see what shows, see what doesn't, and then I'll pick them up and move them again and keep adding until I feel that I have enough color in some different areas that it can be seen without it being too much. So this is where the layout starts to actually come together and where it is close to how it's going to finish as far as the layouts of the hexagons. I did stop at this point and start trying to add in embellishments before I really fussed with it too much, because I had all of these rectangular pieces pulled in and set aside that I wanted to use with this layout. And I would almost use this notes card and that pink one that was underneath it there on the top right. But I chose not to because I felt like it really took away from it. And then it hid a lot of things and I didn't want that. So I ended up not using any of those whatsoever. So those will go back into my tray that has all of the extra pieces on it and will be used later on down the road on another project. They are probably going to end up in the mini album that I'll make at the very end with all the scrap pieces left over, but we'll see. I don't want to put the cart before the horse. But I do love this strip that has the cards on it that says love. However, I chose to fussy cut it apart. I am going to use this as part of my title, but I didn't like how perfect it was. I didn't like everything in this layout was so imperfect at this point that I didn't feel that I wanted that straight perfect title. So I fussy cut it apart so that I could add foam on it, pop it up, and jumble it around. So off camera, that took me, I swear, 45 minutes. And probably the longest part of this layout was all of these hexagons I ran through my sewing machine. And I added a border to them. Some of them I added orange stitching to. Some of them I added pink stitching to. Some were black stitching and some were teal stitching. It took forever, but honestly, it was so worth the time because that extra texture that it added to all of this really made the layout pop. Some of them I did rough up the edges. Some of them I didn't. It was just another one of those, you know, features that I did on some, not on others, and I love it. I actually, the piece there with the black polka dots, I totally forgot to stitch that one all together, and I didn't even bother going back and doing it because most of it's covered by this title anyways. So, you know, if I wouldn't have pointed out, you probably would have never saw it, but I guess the moral of the story in that one is if you forget to do something, don't panic. It's just paper and glue at the end of the days. So I'm going to go ahead and start gluing things down. I do put that felt star there. I absolutely love where that looks. We're going to build that in around the title. I use these stickers from Pink Fresh and spell out the word puppy so that my title is Puppy Love. The alphas that I'm using for the word puppy, I make sure that I alternate the colors. I didn't want to do all of the same. There was so much color variation going on in the spread that I chose to just keep that theme kind of going with this. The two legs of the P do cross over the letter O, but it's okay. I mean, you can still tell that it works and what the title is. So there were these conversation hearts that I had actually pulled in and put in for another spread. But I actually took them back out of that tray and propped them in here because it worked with this one. I felt a lot better than the tray that I had it with. So I added foam adhesive to some of those, and started putting those around my page too and creating different clusters. So I have a Kiss Me conversation heart up there with another one that says love. I do put the shaker star on the top right there, with a little banner that says kisses. I will add a conversation heart that says hug me as well. There are some chipboard stars that I pulled aside to put with this, so I made sure I added those in as well. I love the hexagon star theme that is going on with this one. I do add in other conversation hearts that say cutie, kiss me, love, and hug me. I think were the four that we had there. So I'm going to keep on going and adding these around my page, and using the foam adhesive. And I also did the same with that banner up at the top. It has a heart on it with the word you in it, so I thought that worked great. I do have a banner that I found in my everything else bin to kind of like use up along the way that had love on it, so I added that underneath my title, because I'm going to do my journaling underneath that as well. I felt there wasn't enough black on my spread, so I grabbed these black enamel hearts that I pulled in from my stash. So I'm going to sprinkle a couple of those around the page. If you do not have these, there were enamel dots that came with the kit that would work perfect. They are multicolored and would go perfectly with this. I just needed a couple more pops of black. If you want a couple more pops of black and you don't have that, add some black splatters with some acrylic paint. That's another easy way to bring that in. There were some stars on that sticker sheet that I chose to add in as well, and I thought that helped my ink blending background pop too. And then I'm going to add my journaling, and that's going to call this layout done. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you have been inspired. I have another video coming up here the end of this week for another layout that is going to be a little bit heavier with the mixed media. But if you're new to my channel, I invite you to hit that subscribe button. And everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're already a subscriber, if you could hit that thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, have a great day. Bye.